Is a game considered old school Renaissance if it's literally old school? That's the question we're going to answer today in Mad Musings as we're looking at Bard Games' 1984 Arcanum RPG, which is a compilation of even older books, and Arcanum itself was used as the inspiration for the famous Talislanta RPG. This is the game that's not only old school, this is old elementary school, and for what would become one of the most famous alternate fantasy games of the 1980s. So get ready for OSR Inception as we're looking at a game that came from another game that turned into another game. I'm Mr. Welch, and today is Arcanum, also known as the Atlantean Trilogy. First and foremost, Arcanum has nothing to do at all with the steampunk computer RPG except for the name. Bard Games' Arcanum is instead heavily inspired by Robert E. Howard's Conan the Barbarian. Indeed, if you're a fan of Conan, you're going to recognize a ton of these nations and cities. Public domain is a wonderful inspiration for games. There's a ton of monsters from classic mythology, even more than Dungeons & Dragons, including monsters from Sumerian and Babylonian lore. The early inspiration for Arcanum was several gaming supplements by Bard Games, with the Complete series, with the fancy EAT spelling at the end. These were the Complete Spellcaster, Complete Alchemist, and Complete Adventurer. They were mainly for conversion to D&D, since there were no rule systems for them yet. They ranged from overpowered to almost useless, though the Alchemist book was considered by far the best, and is one of the best early game supplements not just for alchemists, but for RPGs as a whole. Well, they've written the magic classes and the stabby classes, so why not make a game out of them? And thus Arcanum was born. The basic breakdown is a class level system with 8 races available. Aside from the standard humans, elves, and dwarves, Arcanum added the giant Aesir, the lion men called the Ataman, dark elves called Druids, half-goblin Nethermans, and winged Zephyrs. Races have restricted access to classes, though humans can be any class as normal. Elves have the most options at 15 classes, while Aesir are restricted to just 4 classes. Statistics-wise, you've got the core D&D abilities, though wisdom becomes willpower. It also adds speed and perception as stats. It's got backgrounds almost exactly as 5th edition, though much less in number. When you pick a background, you get 2 skills from a list of skills and gain some useful contacts. Likewise, saving throws are based on stats, like 5th edition. However, base saving throws are 11 plus, modified by high or low stats. You've got alignment, as that can be expected, though it's restricted to chaotic, neutral, lawful good, and lawful evil. There's a ton of classes in this game, consisting of single and dual level classes. The main difference between single and dual level is single takes less time to level up. Single classes are any magic users that only use a single school of magic. Then you've got beastmasters, gladiators, harlequins, hunters, martial arts, rogues, scholars, spies, and warriors. Dual class, as the name implies, takes any 2 of the single classes and kind of merges them into a single class. So a monk is a martial artist and a type of magic user, a paladin is a priest and a warrior, and so on. Each class has a combat rating, which ranges from untrained to skilled to highly trained. Untrained never get any class bonuses to hit, while skilled and highly trained get +1 to hit and damage every so many levels, with the highly trained getting bonuses much quicker. Combat training determines all your hit points, whether you're getting +2, +4, +6 hit points depending on your combat training. Actually hitting someone just requires an 11 plus to hit with very few modifiers, as armor reduces damage instead of deflecting attacks. You can attempt to evade attacks, though you have a very limited number of chances to avoid an attack a turn. Because this is a Conan-era game, heavy armor is very rare and is only made by the elves and the dwarves. One fantastic aspect of Arcanum is its skill system. Aside from what you normally expect in a skill system like languages and knowledge skills, there are skills normally restricted to other classes that you can spend XP to gain instead of using the XP to level up. So if you want your scholar to learn acrobatics for whatever reason, which is normally a skill for just harlequins, you spend 1,000 of your XP that you've earned, and you finish the training, and you're now a scholar that can do handstands. Spend another 1,000 XP, and you've gained advanced acrobatics, and you are the most entertaining scholar of all when giving your dissertations. There's a large number of skills available to you, and they are available to almost all classes. Skills is a poor description of this, as most of these are abilities more than skills. The skills are percentage-based mainly, so when there is a check required, it's modified by stats and level. So if you wanted for whatever reason to buy the Alchemist's Analyze Mixture ability, the chance is 50% plus 5% per level. Lockpicking is 25% plus 5% per level. Amusing enough, like real life, lockpicking takes several minutes to get through, so kill the bad guys first, then open the door. The skill system is ingenious because it makes for truly unique characters, especially mid to late campaign, where you need tens of thousands of XP to get to the next level anyways. If your paladin needs 50,000 XP to get to level 10, why not spend 1,000 XP along the way to learn the saxophone? Think of the memes. Magic, on the other hand, is compared to the simplistic combat system, is a bit more complicated because there is a lot of schools of magic, and unlike D&D, the schools don't cross over much. At best, a magic user will have access to 2 types of magic. Calculating the number of spells you can cast per day is easy. It's 2 spells plus your level. So at level 1, you've got 3 spells maximum, and at level 10, you've got 12 spells, and so forth. Every 2 levels of caster lets you learn spells from the next level, and that's simple enough. Most spells take 1 round to cast, but some spells, especially summoning, take minutes or more. Like skills, however, you can burn XP to learn spells from other schools, but you do have to do it for each specific spell. And opposition schools of magic like black magic versus light magic can't be mixed, or any spell that says it is exclusive to that school. The other 2 books in the Atlantean trilogy are the Lexicon, which covers the nations and geography, and the Bestiary, which is exactly what it says on the cover. The Lexicon has all the classic Robert Howard locations, plus the lost continents of Mu, Lemuria, Atlantis, of course. And you are going to find Hyperborea in there as well. Almost all the people you meet are primitive. This is late Bronze Age, early Iron Age, and heavy armor is considered a great treasure, normally only made by elves and dwarves. It has a lot of historical analogies. You've got Aztecs, Sub-Saharan Africans, Celts, Picts, Bedouins, Scythians, and strangely enough in this primitive mix, Arthurian knights. However, the knights are almost a mythical nation in its own right, so you're not going to see Conan versus King Arthur in most games. The book itself is almost all background. It's like a fantasy geography textbook with no characters getting statted out, no rules for travel, just pages after pages of information on each of the numerous nations. The bestiary is divided into fluff and stats, with each creature getting a brief description at the front, and then in the back there's all the rules. There's a ton of monsters from the various parts of the world, the Malay Hantu, the Hebrew Shidam, even the obscure Greek Imputha, plus a large number of the usual suspects that you get from D&D. It's close to D&D, but it has enough variety to avoid being just a clone. Arcanum was recently reprinted with the 30th anniversary edition by Zila Games in both hardback and paperback over at DriveThruRPG. If you're a fan of OSR games, this is the example of games like this, and the unique skill system rules make the characters fresh and unique, which was rare in a level class system back in those days. It does drop the Druids for rights reasons. They were adapted into Talislanta, but the other races are still there. Capera Publishing released an updated version of all 3 books with Atlantis' Second Age, but sadly this is only available in PDF, also on DriveThruRPG. If you want to pick this book up, you've got some options because older versions can get a little pricey. That's Arcanum, the granddaddy of the OSR. If you like OSR games, there's no reason you shouldn't get a copy. It's only 3 books. If you want something fantasy to play and you don't like a lot of rules, it's a solid choice. It is pretty simplistic with the rules, and it's a bit lethal, though dying takes a while. The character customization is fantastic, something other level class systems should look into. Next time I'm going to look at the game Fading Suns, which exudes a very obvious Dune influence, with noble houses feuding in the far future, with a totalitarian church suppressing not just other religions, but general populace as well for its own gain. Throw in aliens, psychic powers, lost tech, and dying stars, and you've got a well-written background for an expansive game. Until then, remember, more does not always mean better.